Hello.
Good evening. How are you?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Hello, good evening.
Oh,
And
here
may
we are.
I say a very bouncy good afternoon to each and every one of you as we begin our Township of Douro-Dummer Council meeting here on August 3rd. We do remind you that the meeting is being recorded. It is also being held live on YouTube. So we welcome everyone who is tuned in today. Now, we will be meeting just the way we would attempt to meet if we were live and in person in our council chambers. We hope that will come in the not too distant future as well. But we've utilized Zoom to the best of our ability. And of course, we're all in the same boat with the pandemic that we all dealt with. So I hope everyone is safe and sound. And like I always like to say, we're all in this together and we do the best that we can do. Okay, I'd like now for everyone's benefit to meet the members of council and verify their attendance. First of all, Deputy Mayor Moher. Thank you, Carl. Councillor Watt.
Here.
Councillor Landsman. Thank you. A couple of you are breaking up a bit. Sometimes we get internet signals maybe aren't quite up to snuff. Councillor Watson. Okay, thank you all very much. And some of our staff that are present, our CAO is Alana Arthurs. Alana, a big wave from you. Good to see you. Martina Chade-Hartwig is our deputy clerk. Martina, she's the one jotting everything down. Our manager of public works, Jake Condon. Jake, you're hidden there somewhere. Good, I see you in the fog. And also our treasurer, Paul Creamer, is here. Paul, a big wave to you. So hopefully our staff are going to be here to answer any questions or get rid of any confusion that might come up. So with all of council in attendance, I officially call this meeting to order. We respectfully acknowledge that we're on the treaty and traditional territory of the Mississauga-Anishinaabe Nation, and we offer our gratitude to the First Nations peoples for their care for and their teachings about our earth and our relations. May we honor those teachings. Please join us for a moment of silent reflection. Thank you all very much. Do any members of council have any pecuniary interest in any of the matters that we're dealing with tonight? If so, please raise your hand. Okay. Seeing no reaction. A motion, please, to adopt the agenda as circulated for tonight's meeting. Councillor Moher, Councillor Landsman, all in favor. That motion is approved. We have some minutes to adopt. Special meeting and regular meeting of the 15th of June. That's the last time we were together. We indeed were scallywags and took the month of July off for a bit of a break, but we're back now. So a motion, please, to adopt and receive those minutes. Councillor Watt, and seconded by Councillor Watson. All in favor? That motion is approved. Okay, we do have a fairly busy agenda here tonight. We're going to be as efficient as we possibly can. So just kind of stay with us on this, and we'll get through the business at hand. It's so nice to see some of you actually sitting outside. How nice is that? We'll see if you want to do that in January. We'll get back to you. Anyway, okay, a public meeting. This is about a zoning bylaw amendment. I would like a motion, please, to open this official public meeting. Mr. Moher, and seconded by Councillor Watson. All in favor? That motion is approved. We are now in a public meeting. I will ask our clerk, Martina, please to review this file and the comments received. Go ahead, Martina.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the application that's before us is file 1021. It's for 1234 Birchview Road. The applicant is William Osborne, and I believe he's on the call with us today. And his agent is Kent Randall from EcoView Consulting, who's also with us. The property is located at Concession 1, Part Lot 29, Part 48 and 54 on Plans 45R 343. It's in the Dummer Ward. Mr. Osborne, via his agent Kent Randall of EcoView Consulting, has applied for a zoning bylaw amendment to rezone the parcel of land to allow a new dwelling to be built, along with an accessory structure that's going to contain a personal workshop and a sleeping cabin. The subject land is currently zoned Special District 25. The effect of this bylaw is to rezone the subject land to Special District 248 zone to allow for the removal of the existing dwelling on the site, along with numerous accessory structures, and to allow and control future construction along with the new dwelling and the accessory structure. A planning justification study completed by EcoView dated June 9th, 2021 was submitted in support of the application, along with an archaeological assessment, stage 1 and 2, completed by Earthworks Archaeological Services dated June 9th, 2021. The archaeological assessment had been submitted to the Ministry of Heritage, Sport, Tourism, and Cultural Industries for review. Notice of this application was given via first-class prepaid mail on July 7th, 2021 to neighboring properties and associated agencies and special interest groups such as cottage associations and road associations. Staff have reviewed the application and deemed it to be in conformity with the provincial policy statement, and there is no evidence that this application conflicts with the growth plan. The planning justification study speaks to natural areas and to the improvement of the shoreline by reducing the impact of existing buildings through their demolition and moving the new buildings further away from the shoreline. The official plan designates the property as shoreline residential, and redevelopment is permitted within this designation. We have received comments from the following agencies. Enbridge Gas submitted comments. They have no objection with this application. Kawartha Pine Ridge District School Board has reviewed the application and has no concerns, and it does not conflict with their mandate. And we have received a formal letter from the Otonabee Region Conservation Authority. I'll just summarize their comments. They're dated July 29th, 2021. As they've done a review, it's the opinion of the Otonabee Conservation that the application is consistent with Provincial Policy Statement Section 3.1 regarding natural hazards. Further, providing a suitable planting plan and opinion letter is submitted. It is the opinion of the Otonabee Region Conservation Authority that the application is consistent with Provincial Policy Sections 2.1 and 2.2 and can conform with the growth plan for the Greater Golden Horseshoe Sections 4.2.4, 5B and C. Further, permits for development are not required from the agency for this development, and it was determined that the subject property is not located within an area that is subject to the policies contained in the Source Water Protection Plan. Those are all the comments we've received. I do see some faces on the line, so I'm not sure if anyone here is here to speak to the application, but I know Mr. Randall would like to speak to it when his turn comes.
Okay. Thank you, Martina. So the process is we first of all hear from the applicant, in this case, Kent, and we give anyone else who wants to comment in favor or against this application. That is our normal process. So we try to be totally above board and open, and we try to hear from everyone. Before we do go to Kent, though, any members of council, do you have any questions of clarity over the detail that you just heard? Okay, seeing no hands, I'm going to ask the applicant's representative, Kent, if you would like to speak further on the matter. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Hello, everybody. My name is Kent Randall. I'm Principal Planner at EcoView Consulting. We're the agent for the applicant, Bill Osborne, and Bill's daughter and son-in-law are actually here on the line, Melanie and Jim Metro. And so they are representing Bill in this situation as the applicants officially. So I don't have too much further to add to Martina's summary. We had provided a planning justification report that I hope council was able to review. What we're doing here is redeveloping the site. We're not changing the use, but we are redeveloping in terms of moving the existing cottage back. It's going to be rebuilt, reconstructed, of course. But we are, in fact, improving the situation over what's there now. Although we are within the 30-meter setback, we're extending the current non-compliant setback. It's important to note the irregular shape of the lot and the undersized, the fact that it is undersized. So a lot of the relief that we're seeking in the site-specific zone is related to the fact that we're dealing with this undersized and irregular shaped lot. And it's also important to note that even though we have this undersized lot, we're meeting all of the lot coverage provisions of the zoning bylaw. So we're not exceeding those. So we're not overdeveloping the site. We're not asking for that. We're simply asking for some setback relief from a few provisions. Of course, we also have the sleeping cabin that's larger than what is permitted. But we do feel that considering it will be on the second floor of the workshop, that it's not contributing to any overdevelopment of the site. And it certainly is reasonable as far as we're concerned. So that's pretty much all I have to say on it. But I'm of course happy to answer any questions that council or the public may have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Kent. Melanie or Jim, anything you wanted to add to that?
No, I don't think so. Kent pretty much nailed it, I think. I don't have anything to add unless you do.
No, he can probably speak a little bit more than us about this matter, but yeah.
Okay.
It's a very narrow lot, and it's got a sloped shoreline that comes up. So that's why Kent was saying it's more challenging to build on.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there anyone else on the meeting here tuned in who would like to speak in favor of this application? Please raise your hand now, jump in or scream, whatever you need to do. Is there anyone would like to speak against this application? Now is your opportunity to do just that. Okay, thank you very much. Very cooperative bunch of people here today. Members of council, it is your opportunity to ask any questions. Go ahead. No questions? Okay, no questions. Then we're going to move along. We have followed the process, and we thank everyone for their comments. I'm going to ask that we close the public meeting. Moved by Sheila and seconded by Tom. All in favor? Public meeting is closed. Now, if no one minds, we can bring that bylaw in question, bylaw number 2021-46, so the applicants could know if they were successful with their presentations here tonight. Carl, go ahead. You're muted. Sorry, Carl.
I would move the recommendation in the bylaw.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Carl. And a seconder, please. by Heather. Is there
Thank
any
you, Worship. I'll
discussion?
second that.
Any discussion on the motion that's on the floor? We'll call for the votes. All in favor. That motion is approved. It's the same 20-day appeal period as is the case for every application that we get. So you're aware of that, and we wish you all the luck, and we hope you enjoy your new facility. So thank you for being with us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, that's it for our public meeting. We now have a number of 3 different delegations, and we'll try to be as efficient as we can. And I do remind everyone that we do have a 10-minute delegation time limit, and I'll do my best to time it. I'll try to give you a little ding dong with a minute left, and that should work out smoothly. So our first delegation is Sean Morey from the Peterborough Humane Society, the Animal Care Center, with a request for support for the new Animal Care Center. And Sean, you go ahead, no stranger to the Douro-Dummer screen, are you? And I think we've got those 3 little words we're getting used to. You're on mute. We're not hearing any audio. Oop, no, still not hearing you. Your mute icon went off, but we're still not hearing you. You're hearing us okay? Okay. So we know we got half the problem solved. No, maybe it's something on your, try it again.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. It's all yours.
Let's try that again. Sorry, I apologize for that. Good afternoon, Your Worship, members of council, staff, and everyone in attendance. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. I will be brief. Essentially, what I wanted to do today, and I was hoping to do, is seek consideration and support through the council in preparation of your 2022 budget to invest $50,000 into the Animal Care Center and animal services in the township of Douro-Dummer. As you know, not only are the services that we're providing today, but services we're going to be providing tomorrow with regards to animal wellness and just the staggering population growth of both two-legged friends and four-legged friends within the municipality are continuing to exceed expectations. The demands for the services and this new center are here. They're here today, and we're happy and very fortunate to be in a position where we've currently broken ground on the new center. We're just over 2 months of the way through construction, with it set to be completed by fall of 2022. And what we're identifying too is and hoping for support in this is so much of an investment into a lot of different things. It's an investment into a safer community through controlling pet overpopulation, through our high volume accessible spay-neuter services that we're going to be hosting within the center. We're also going to be able to do rabies and microchip clinics, which can be heavily subsidized for residents within the municipality based on the support that's provided into the programs. It brings affordable services right directly to the community and will help support animals and their owners for future generations to come. A couple other things that we're really looking forward to is development of a TNR program, so trap, neuter, release program for feral cats within the community, where that gives us an opportunity to work with local partners to bring in feral or community cats into our center, spay or neuter them, and then release them back into farms or businesses where they can act as working cats to control rodent population and all that good stuff. We'll be able to do that through our new center. A couple other things that we're going to be able to host within it is a large economic benefit through increased jobs and professional recruitment. So not only where we are today, we host 20 employees within the center. We're going to be doubling that within our new center, as well as bringing in professional services such as new vets, additional vets, registered vet technicians, and professional staff that will be able to support the center as we move things forward. So it's bringing in folks from outside of our areas, as well as recruiting those folks from within inside our communities to increase jobs and increase the economic benefit for all. It's also going to act as a community hub for programs geared toward education around humane education. So that's for both children and adults through our educational center. That's going to be allowing us to provide education to both school kids with regards to our Animal Smart program, which is a curriculum that's being introduced from junior kindergarten all the way through grade 8, and the identifying the benefits of the human-animal bond. And I'm sure, as anyone who's a pet owner can appreciate, over these last 18 months, more so than anything, your pets are not just your pets, they're a family member, and they need the support. And us understanding their needs will help us provide a better environment for them, but also a better environment for us. That's one area. Obviously, education through pet adoption as well. Knowing the animal that you're going to adopt well beforehand is going to help with those return pets, or again, potentially overpopulation within the area based on not picking or choosing the right animal for you. So all of these opportunities and enhancements that we're going to be bringing to the animal wellness sector are such that are going to be presented within our new center. As you're, I'm sure, all aware, we're currently sitting on a facility that was built back in 1956, and acted primarily only as a pound service. So it was only used for temporary housing, and obviously the needs of animal wellness has expanded exponentially in 65 years, and that's the reason why we're doing what we're doing today, and the reason why we're here seeking consideration and support through 2022, and hopefully getting the support from the municipality to look after our four-legged friends within our community, as well as their owners, for a better, more effective humane society, as well as a more effective community altogether. And at that, I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have at this time.
That's great. Good presentation. Thank you for that. Your bark is worse than your bite. Just kidding, Sean. Any questions from members of council before I ask for a motion to refer it to our treasurer and our budget? Go ahead, Sheila.
Thank you. Through the chair, do you not have any concerns, and maybe I didn't catch everything you were saying, but do you not have any concerns that by bringing in animals from so many places far away that it would impact the people who are living here? That would be one of my concerns.
Through you, Chair, to Councillor Landsman, with regards to the center and the population of animals coming in, that's more so around both the population density that is coming to our area through real estate, essentially, that they're coming into our facilities now, right? So we're seeing an increase in population, not only with regards to folks moving here based on changes in their structure, and obviously seeing that you're seeing a lot of new people, coming to the area, not just for temporary residents, but for full-time residents. They're also bringing along their animals. So that's what I mean by that increased population growth within these municipalities, is that we're seeing that because this is a very sought after community with regards to setting up homes and residences. So we're seeing an increase in that, not so much bringing in animals from other locations. With that being said, there is opportunities down the line for supporting communities in the far north, where there is an issue with regards to overpopulation of animals, but I'm speaking specifically towards supporting our local community and the increase in animals that we're seeing just primarily over the pandemic and over these last 18 months, and providing the services that are going to be required for that for the future.
Thank you.
Any other questions from members of council, please? Any other questions? Heather, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you, just a follow-up to Councillor Landsman's question with respect to the migration of people and pets to the region since the pandemic. I know, or it's my understanding, that this project has been on the books of the board for quite some time, and that you're finally, as you say, at that celebrated point where you're able to break ground and move forward with construction. How have you adjusted the construction plans in light of this issue that you're referencing around the influx of pets and the pet population locally?
Through you, Chair, to Councillor Watson. Yeah, that was a heavy determining factor for us to move forward and put shovel in the ground and get things started. This project itself has been ongoing for over 7 years now, and from a fundraising perspective and from a dollars and cents standpoint with regards to the build, we're not 100% complete on that as of yet, which is but we recognize the need within the community and recognize the need from an animal wellness perspective that this needs to happen. As I mentioned in my presentation, the center that we're currently housed in now is just over 65 years old, and it can't withstand the demand of services and programs that are required in today's world with regards to animal wellness. And that's the reason why we're pushing forward with this center, so that we can fit the needs of today, but also fit the needs of tomorrow within it.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments for Sean? Could we have a motion then, please, to receive the delegation of the request and refer it to budget deliberations? Sheila will make that motion. A seconder, please. Tom, call for the vote. All in favor? That motion is approved. Well, Sean, thank you very much. I know how much work you've been putting into this for a long time. It's a worthy thing to be doing. We all know all the pet owners, and we wish you all the luck in the world. And we will do, as our motion indicates, send it to our budget process. So thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you so much. Have a great evening.
Thank you. Okay, thank you very much. Our next delegation is certainly no stranger to our township, and that is Doug Owens, along with Jennifer Turner. And Doug is here for his 10-minute delegation. And let me just be clear about this 10-minute thing. That's normal situation that we've always been in. This isn't what we consider a public meeting. I know there's a lot of interest in this, believe me, I know. But this is simply an individual asked for a delegation time before council, and they all get 10 minutes. And we're just trying to obey the rules. I have no question there'll be plenty of time for public meetings and public input over this issue that is plaguing virtually every municipality in the province of Ontario. So I've been looking forward to Doug's presentation. He knows of what he speaks. And Doug, I would like to welcome you and Jennifer, and we are all ears. So go ahead.
Your worship, thank you. Can you hear me?
What'd you say?
Can
just
you hear
kidding.
Me?
Just kidding, Doug. Go ahead. Go
Thank
ahead.
you. So as a brief introduction, you know me and Carl knows me. And I'd first like to deal with township planning report and recommended bylaw that I reviewed Friday afternoon. And I just ask you to set that approach aside, because in my opinion, that strikes at the heart of the problem. And I think that bylaw proposed would really de facto permit Airbnbs in shoreline residential zones and just institute some sort of fee. And I don't think that's protection of us shoreline residential residents. So just to go back a little bit in time, I know you know, Mr. Mayor, I was part of the committee that we drafted the 1996 bylaw. And we worked with the planner at that time, Douro-Dummer, and I was the shoreline representative, and we had farmers and we had businessmen. And we spent probably a year and a half, one Friday afternoon a month. And we went through public meetings at Crow's Landing and probably McCracken's. And I know you were there, Mr. Mayor. And so I do have a history of the bylaw. And then myself, when I started seeing these Airbnbs are popping up all over the lake, I started questioning myself, did we miss something in the bylaw? So then I started a search all around Ontario to see what were other municipalities doing about it. And as you know, there's a various multitude of confusing approaches. And so I then decided to just look at our bylaw and what's permitted in shoreline residential. And I searched and searched, and I finally found the expert, and his name is Gordon Knox. And he was a planner over in Simcoe County with all the professional designations and appeared before the municipal board 200 times as an expert witness. So I got my guideline. And he is saying in his argument, and it's not an argument, he's stating as a matter of fact, and he recites all the cases, and I'm going to narrate them briefly. But in his case, is referring to the Severn zoning bylaw. Short-term rentals are not permitted in residential zones, period. He then goes on and refers to a decision in the town of Blue Mountains of the OMB at that time, so it was called. And the board in that decision found that STA, short-term rentals, are distinct commercial entities with the goal of making profit. The commercial entity is the potential to conflict with the character and stability of existing neighborhoods because of the constant turnover of people and the difficulty that turnovers bring in controlling noise and nuisance. Then he refers to another case, and I love this case. It was a judge in Ottawa, the Menzies case. And Mr. Justice Boudin of the Superior Court of Justice said, single-family use cannot be interpreted to include one's operation of hotel-like business, with units being offered to complete strangers on the internet on a repeated basis for durations as short as a single night. Single-family use is incompatible with the concept of check-in, check-out times, cancellation policies, security deposits, cleaning fees, instructions on what to do with dirty towels and sheets. In other words, if it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, it is a duck. In this case, the judge is saying they're hotels. The message here is Mr. Knox was on to say, characterize the short-term rental use as a commercial land use. Hotels are commercial land uses. Then he goes on to recite a 2020 case in the city of Burlington. And this was the other question I asked, how do you enforce the existing bylaw? And the decision rendered by Mr. Justice Gibson of the Supreme Court, the city had applied for an injunction to stop a short-term rental operator from carrying on a business in a residentially zoned area in violation of the residential zoning bylaw. The judge granted the injunction and ordered the owner to end the non-permitted use and instructed the city and the sheriff to use whatever means necessary and reasonable to stop the non-permitted use, including blocking access to the property, and ordered the owner pay costs of $9,800 to the city. So that is enforcement of the bylaw. Then the third question I had, our bylaw under the seasonal residential uses has a couple of permitted uses. And one is a home industry use, so long as it's within the house and minor to the home occupancy and residential of the house, and no outward. I won't get into that more. And we permitted bed and breakfast with a maximum of 1 unit. And the rationalizing that the owner's there and present. So that answered to me the question, he actually states it. You have to find under a bylaw something that permits your use. And if you can't, then it's not a permitted use. So Airbnbs come along and it confused people. But they can't demonstrate under the residential zoning. They fit in with residential use, boarding house type use, or home industry use. So I come to my own conclusion, the bylaw is enforceable. You have the power under the municipal act to fine people up to, I believe it's $20,000 and or seek injunctions. Now, I did take it upon myself to look to who are your township solicitors and planners, and you wisely use Aird Burles. And in my mind, Aird Burles is one of the finest planning and municipal law firms in the city, bar none. I would watch them lecture me, Jane Pampino and Leo Longo. You've got the best team there. So I urge you, if you want to challenge this use, to lean on your lawyers to start directing you to issuing warning letters to the properties we identify. And then they can assist you in enforcing your bylaw. Now, I'd like to work with council. I'm sitting here with Brent Wheatong, and we'd like to meet council on an informal basis and members of your planning staff, so we can take you on a ride around the lake and show you the properties. And I think we're going to say that these are outsiders that have come in here. They're seizing the opportunity that we don't have a real policy yet towards this. And they're businessmen. They're not Stony Lakers. One person, we can track 10 different properties to his ownership.
Wow.
And another person, we can certainly track 2 properties to his ownership. And I think in the last 2 years, 90% of properties bought in Stony Lake are being bought by operators. Now, everybody's sort of got this guilty conscience about, well, what about mom and pa that used to rent their place to help pay the taxes? Well, the Supreme Court of Canada gave municipalities unfettered discretion to enforce bylaws as they choose. So you can choose not to enforce bylaws against those innocent mom and pa's that are trying to get some help to pay the tax bills. We're not after those people, but we want to stop the use by commercial operators that are violating our bylaws. Now, I don't know if Brent would like to add to what I say, or Jackie.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to acknowledge and thank you for your opening remarks regarding Indigenous people and the lands that we're on. Being an Indigenous person with family that's part of the signature of the 1818 treaty and Treaty 20, in which Douro-Dummer Township sits in, I'm concerned with the lack of consultation with those of us as First Nation people and our communities regarding the increase in commercial usage on our waterways, on our shorelines, which have direct impacts on our treaty rates. It's becoming quite concerning. The amount of noise that's out there that doesn't need to be, the consistent fireworks at all times of the nights during nesting seasons for migratory birds, the types of watercraft that come in that are not checked for invasive species, and they come from all over into different boat ramps, and we now have invasive species of starry stonewort in the lake. It's quite concerning that there are the amount of commercial enterprises, and I call them that because I see it on a daily basis. I live 3 doors down from one that is move in Saturday, move out Saturday, and constant usage of properties that are advertised as having ATV trails, hiking trails, which are private property in the area. Those advertisements are right up on those websites advertising these commercial businesses. Not saying where they are, but when somebody sees the Weetongs have over 200 acres of trails on their property, they feel that that's where they should be able to go.
Yeah, no, we hear you, Brent. No, I appreciate your comments as well. And I guess I got to say, we're not the bad guys here. We know this is an issue. We hear you, and Doug, I agree with every word you uttered. And this is one heck of a situation we're in.
Yep.
And we're going to find a way out of it. I don't care how we do it. We're going to find a way out of it. You know, I've been on this for a while now. I've been in touch with all the municipalities in Eastern Ontario. I've been in touch with our neighbors at City of Kawartha Lakes, Prince Edward County, all asking the same question. We've got this dilemma here, and for the exact reasons you talked about, how are you dealing with it? Do you have any secret plan that they've hired consultants, they've hired lawyers? And the answer I got back today is good luck with that. So, you know, we're starting from scratch here. We know
Maybe
there's a
if I could
problem.
respond, Mr. Mayor.
Sorry, what's that, Doug? I didn't hear you.
In Seguin Township, they took the task immediately. They issued 40 warning letters.
Yep.
And immediately 20 ceased and stopped. The remaining 20, they're in the process now of prosecuting.
No, and that's great. And maybe that's the route we're going to be following.
That's the route I certainly recommend, the only route.
Well, and I hope we can do something like that. I'm going to ask our CAO, Alana, to give a bit of background on the report that you have referenced. I think maybe there's a wee bit of misunderstanding at this stage of the game. So, Alana, can you explain to everyone your thoughts of how you handled this in step one of the process?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll start off by saying, Mr. Owens, I don't disagree with what you're saying at all. The purpose of this report was not to permit Airbnbs or short-term rentals. Currently, the municipality, our zoning bylaw, was prepared at a time where these weren't as prevalent. Obviously, with COVID, it's even become an increasing problem. But our definitions are, I'm going to say, weak at best. You talk about the enforcement and being able to choose to enforce, and unfortunately, it's not something that's been enforced to date. The other bylaws that we may be able to lean on with nuisance and noise and animal control also need some additional work to be able to put some fines in place. The intent of this bylaw really was to give council the opportunity to pass something today, so we weren't waiting until 2022 to be able to put some fees in place. So we can go to those locations where we are getting complaints. The difference with fees and fines is that when we go to fines, we have to send that to the province. So the bylaw gets passed, we have a schedule of fines, we send it to the province, and we wait probably 6 to 8 weeks at best. With COVID, could be longer before they approve it and we can actually implement those fines. So that's why we've referred to them as fees. If council chooses to move forward with it, we can start that immediately. I don't disagree with all of your other points. And I think when we initially started to have this discussion, I did have conversations with other municipalities, specifically North Kawartha. You know, we share the jurisdiction of one body of water, and currently they're not proceeding with anything. They have a new staff member on who is going to take a look at this over the winter months and plan for 2022. So I've had conversations with North Kawartha and Havelock specifically to engage in conversation to see if we can't come up with something together. The options moving forward are vast. I mean, we could not permit them. We can put in licensing. We can put in levels of licensing, so we're not targeting those mom and pop shops. You speak to Airden Burles. There is a report on today to select them as our lawyers of record. So if we move forward, we definitely will have their expertise. And I agree with you, they're a fantastic law firm, and whatever we decide to put in place, they will be most helpful. There are lots of options. And I think we do need to look at our zoning bylaw, which is a little bit outdated, especially on this topic. The inspections that we can put in place with fire and septic, safe water, all those things. The municipal accommodations tax, I don't know if that's the avenue we want to go that has some other strings attached to it as well. So there are so many options out there that we really need the time to investigate, as well as bring in all of the public to do that consultation piece as well. So this in no way was an intent to permit the bed and breakfast, the short-term rentals, the Airbnbs. It was something to give us an opportunity to deal with, at least on a small level, for the balance of the 2021 season, to allow us to prepare for 2022. So I'm happy, you know, there are some good examples out there, and I did look at Blue Mountain, and I did look at Huntsville and Severn, and I know that there are some examples out there, and they're all just varied just a little bit. So we have to find what's right for our township. And, you know, we hopefully can do that for the next season. It just all takes time. And this was an intent to get something in place immediately. So council can have further discussion when the report comes up. We can talk about how we're going to move forward. And if there's something specific that council would like to see staff investigate right away, I'm happy to do that. The intent was to look at it over the upcoming months and through the winter season when it's a little bit quieter, and try to bring something back to council that's comprehensive.
My only response, if I could respond, Mr. Mayor, and I respect your knowledge too and concern in the area. We might send the wrong message out to the outside world that you can operate Airbnbs here, and the only impunity is a $200 fee or $150, $300 fee. And that's the wrong message, I think, that outsiders are looking at us. They're buying our properties rapidly. And that's just maybe not the strong message. And I recognize you can't impose a strong message right now, but maybe that sets out a weak message to these outsiders who are coming in here.
Okay, we hear you, Doug. Yep. And it's all these things that have to be considered, but I can assure everyone we are taking this seriously. We relate to this as well as you do. Some horror stories out there. I can't believe this is going on, and there's no question we have to do something about it, and we're going to do it with your help and public input, and we're going to do it right, and we're going to be proud of how we do it in the end. So, you know, we're going to have a little bit of patience. Carl, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for the input that has been received. And I agree totally that these bed and breakfasts are commercial operations, and they're the current bylaw doesn't permit them, as demonstrated in your presentation. I've had discussion with you, Jennifer, at length a couple of weeks ago, and some of the horrible things that you're having to put up with is not right as property owners at 2 o'clock in the morning. So when this report comes forward, I would like to maybe move that we have an interim bylaw that's got more teeth than the current proposal for our, maybe bring back to our next meeting until we can get our arms around some of the bigger issues with this, because I agree that some of the fees that are suggested might be a little bit on the low side, but I think we can put more teeth in those in the interim bylaw, and then hopefully in 2 or 3 months, we'll have a bylaw that will be more teeth to put an end to the nonsense that's going on.
Okay.
So when the motion comes forward, when the report comes forward, I'd be happy to move something of that nature.
And I am tempted to move that up on the agenda so that everyone here can know what we're doing on an interim basis. Alana, you go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. I'm sorry, Deputy Mayor, I should have mentioned when I was explaining our fees versus fines, the establishment of the fee was through the Municipal Act, we're allowed to establish fees, but they have to be cost recovery. So that's the difference between our fees and our fines. So basing the $300, and we could eliminate the warning, we could eliminate the 50%. We just wanted to give the perception that it was a gradual fee, but the $300 is based on 2 hours from the bylaw enforcement officer and an hour of administration, which if we get challenged on what we're putting in place for fees, we can definitely back that up. So that was our reasoning for going with the $300. I know some municipalities have put in some very, very large fees, and I worry that if we get challenged in something like that, that we're going to be in a situation that we can't defend it.
Carl?
I'd be happy to back off if we were forced to back off on some of these fees. But then you get complaints of 3 police officers and 3 OPP vehicles out there for 2 or 3 hours settling domestics, those bucks add up pretty fast. So,
but again, Alana can only do what she's allowed to do. And I guess that's what and it's an interim step to allow something to be done now, as opposed to walking away from the problem and hoping it goes away next week. And that's not going to happen. Any other, I'm going to move that to report of Alana's in the bylaw up to see if we can get some consensus on moving forward. We've got to do something now, but we're on it. Please don't think we're going to throw this down the drain. We're not. We're on it.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Thank you, Doug, very much. We're glad to have you on our side, believe me, because I wouldn't want to tangle with you. I know that. Any other questions? I'd like a motion then, please, to receive. Okay, sorry. Are you making the motion or making a comment? Sheila? You're muted, Sheila.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I was going to question Carl's comment about the removal of certain items from that bylaw. Did you follow through it? Is that what you said, Carl?
no, I just feel that the fees could be more teeth, higher amounts.
Okay.
Because it's just an interim bylaw until we can get a more formidable bylaw to deal with this. And I read the whole Severn report that kept from Severn Township, and there's some interesting information there that I would support moving forward with.
So there's a lot of investigation to be done, and Alana and staff can only do what they're allowed to do. So we'll have to see how that is. Go ahead, Heather.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, and certainly when it comes time to receive the delegation, I'll make that motion. But I just wanted to acknowledge that although there seems to be a large interest among the lake community about this very matter, it is something that is near and dear township-wide. And I think going forward, we will need to look at a better or a proper definition of short-term rentals and what that means. To Mr. Owen's point, when the owner is there and present, say renting out a room in their home that they're living in as well, is very different than renting out a cottage on the lake. So I understand and hear the points that are being made. I think we just need to also take into consideration at the appropriate time a definition of short-term rentals and look at the application of even an interim bylaw as it relates to the entire municipality, as it should be, rather than just around the lake community.
And that's all part and parcel of the research and the investigation that we have to do. Nobody's out trying to hurt Mrs. Smith, who wants to rent their cottage to their aunt. We're not trying to do that. This is people in business.
Progress.
Okay. We're going to I'm hearing some echo here. Somebody must be doing something funny. It's Doug probably trying to get back at me. No, he's a techie guy. Okay, I'm going to ask for a motion, please, to receive the delegation. Heather and Sheila, all in favor? That motion is approved. And before our friends leave us, I'm going to move ahead. Bylaw number 11.2. Is that right, Martina? Or bylaw 2021-47.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, did you want to address our CAO's report at the same time or just the bylaw?
Well, I think we need to receive the report.
So that would be report 9.3 on our agenda then, the short-term rentals report.
Okay, we're simply going to receive the report and then Carl is going to be making a motion, right? Okay, so a motion to receive the CAO report about short-term rentals. Sheila? And Carl? All in favor? Okay, that motion is approved. And now, Carl, about bylaw 2021-47, are you going to address that then? You're muted, Carl.
First of all, I'd like to thank staff for all their research since this has gone on the agenda here in the last few weeks of major concerns. I would thank staff for all their attempt to try to address this on an interim basis. However, I would like to move that the bylaw that's suggested be taken into consideration some of the issues raised tonight, and that we bring back an interim bylaw to our next meeting that perhaps has more severe penalties for the concerns that are raised by complaints of noise, dog control, and et cetera, the complaints that are being raised in our community.
While realizing that staff can only do what they're allowed to do. I mean, we can't be unfair and say we're going to charge them $1 million if they, we can't do that. Alana, any problems with that motion before we go ahead?
For you, Mr. Mayor, I guess my only comment would be if we wait until our next meeting, we're now September the 7th. So it doesn't give staff the opportunity to do any enforcement for the next almost 6 weeks or 5 weeks anyway. I would suggest if we wanted to keep this bylaw in place, that we could move the fees up to 500. We could also send a letter out to those existing Airbnbs that we're aware of, advising them that it doesn't comply within the zoning bylaw, which may restrict some of them. They may comply immediately. And then we can have that bylaw as backup. The issue with the dogs and the noise, again, we have to go back for set fines. So the set fines will allow the OPP to issue tickets if they are called and on site, but we have to submit that to the province. So again, we're going to be probably October at best if we actually get anything in place. So if we leave it, we just don't have anything to work with.
Yep, good point. That's why you're CAO. Go ahead, Carl.
With those suggestions, if they can be added to an amended bylaw now, I would have no trouble with that.
Okay, that would be fine. Will we get a seconder to that, please? To that concept? A seconder? Tom? Okay, we're doing the best we can right now to try to address the problem. We're on it. Big time.
Am I allowed to speak? Because you're changing.
Not really. No, I'm sorry. This isn't a public meeting, and I'm sorry.
Delegation.
Believe me, it's nothing personal.
I'm part of the delegation, and the only reason I really want to step in here is I'm not a lawyer, but I've been sort of coached by a few recently on this issue. And my concern is in our haste to put some controls in place over the next month, we actually may be creating a problem down the road, because by enforcing this, you're creating perhaps, and we could ask Doug further if I'm right, a legal confirmation that it's actually okay, and you grandfather these people in the future because we set fines or fees, as we're calling them, that allow them to operate. So
I follow you.
We be cautious here.
Good for you, Deborah. Yeah.
So I'm sorry for stepping in turn.
No, that's okay. If Carl could add a little line to the motion, that staff be directed to get legal advice on this, and then we can move forward with it. How about that? That would seem to solve it. Carl?
Well, I think I heard our CAO mention that we're going to increase the fee to 500, and we're also going to send letters to those people that are not complying. So if we send letters out to the people that are violating our zoning shoreline residential zoning bylaw, that should pretty well identify the guilty people.
But I understand the grandfathering thing. That seems to hit us all the time. I do understand that. Alana, would it be a problem to give a quick call to our lawyer and get that cleared up?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I'm happy to do that. I think if we send out letters, what we can indicate is we expect compliance, and should we get a complaint that there isn't compliance, we can still charge the inspection fee for going
Okay.
there. So we're not saying that we are allowing it to happen. A bigger concern of mine is that the existing zoning bylaw has never been enforced on the wording that's in there, which, as I mentioned, I would really like to see it a lot stronger if we're going to enforce it. So as we move through this process, if that's the avenue we're going to take, we really do need to look at our zoning bylaw to
Yep.
really give it some teeth.
We got to do this right, and in every corner, and we're going to do it right. Okay, Carl, you have a motion on the floor. Is that correct?
Yes,
Okay, and Alana is going to check with legal. Did I see
that's okay.
Heather's hand up? Go ahead.
I did, yes. Thank you, Your Worship. Through you, just to be clear, actually, could the clerk read us the motion that's on the floor before I make a comment? Because I'm not sure what I'm even commenting on now in terms of what
Martina,
the
can you read
amendments
the motion, please?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the motion moved by Deputy Mayor Moher, seconded by Councillor Watt, is that bylaw 2127, being a bylaw to provide for administrative fees for complaints generated by short-term rental accommodations, as amended, be passed, and that the fees be increased to $500, and further that staff send out notice letters, which is actually part of the bylaw. Step one of the fee structure is to send out warning letters. So Deputy Mayor, you can correct me if I'm wrong.
That's it, Carl. You're happy with that? It's your
Yes,
motion?
I am.
Okay, seconder, you're happy with that?
So I would like to speak to the motion, Your Worship.
Speak to the motion. Go ahead.
Thank you. So as it's written, I can't support it. I feel that passing the bylaw, even the short-term rentals bylaw, is something that will box us in the future. And I can't help but wonder if we are going to send the offenders a letter stating that they're in contravention of the zoning bylaw, that why we are unable to do that regardless of whether or not the bylaw is passed. I think that it makes sense to just send the letters, leave the bylaw, go through the proper process to ensure that we have a thoughtful way forward, and we've been able to have full dialogue around the matter. So as it is, regrettably, I'm not going to be able to support the motion.
Okay, I'm going to ask then for a recorded vote on the motion. Madam Clerk? Sheila, speak to the motion, please.
Sorry, through you, I'm still unclear on exactly what the letter is going to say when it goes out.
Alana.
This warning letter or what? I'm not clear on that.
Alana?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, as it was designed, there was a warning letter. So we can send the warning letters for those that we are aware are in existence, let them know that they're in contravention of the zoning bylaw, with the information that there is an inspection fee should we receive complaints. We can check with legal before we move forward if there's a concern on that end. Alternatively, if we want to not pass the bylaw and just send the letters, we can take direction to do that as well.
Okay, thank you. Tom, go ahead.
I'm starting to think that's maybe a better idea. Let's not jump the gun on the bylaw because we don't want it to come back and bite us later if it is not quite the way we should. We did hear a comment earlier, and we've kind of agreed that, with the choices of our legal team coming up here later on in the meeting, that they are very, very well versed on this. If we just send the letters out right now, letting people know that they're in contravention to the bylaw or that our zoning bylaw, and worry about the bylaw itself later, because I don't want it to box us in. I just think if we just send the letters and then get our legal team to help us do the right steps.
I believe the motion implied that Alana was going to contact legal before doing anything. That was kind of the overlying direction, to make sure that legal were happy with the concept. Alana.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, maybe I can offer one more alternative. Why don't we defer the bylaws? We will send out the letters, and in the meantime, we will contact legal. And if legal gives us some direction on a bylaw, we'll bring that back for the September meeting. And if they say don't do anything, do your full investigation, we will bring back a report on that as well.
Okay, that's fine. We got to move forward here. Martina?
Mr. Mayor, there is a motion on the floor, and it has been moved and seconded, and you did ask for a recorded vote.
Okay,
So
I'm
we'll have
going
to
to
deal with
withdraw the
what's on the
request for
floor
a
first.
recorded vote. Will the seconder and the mover withdraw their motion then and make a new motion? If not, we'll have the recorded vote. Carl, your motion.
Alana, is that appropriate that we go forward with this direction? Will that put an end to this nonsense that these ratepayers are putting up with?
Yeah, that's the issue. They need some help right now.
Like Jennifer was, and her husband have just put up with total nonsense, and she's just one of many, many people. And I guess I'm not opposed to 2 weeks. I see some nodding from Doug. What are your comments, Doug? Would that satisfy as an interim?
Would you rather us wait, Doug?
I think we just lost you, Doug.
No,
Yeah,
am
we're
I
not-
here now?
There you are.
You're
Yep.
there now.
Yeah, I prefer the last recommendation of your CAO. Send the
Okay.
warning letters. Let legal counsel then set the direction.
Okay, I withdraw the
Okay.
motion. then.
Withdraw the seconder. Is that okay with you? Okay, let me hear another motion then, please. Who wants to make the motion? Heather, do you want to make it?
I will move that, oh my goodness. I will move that we proceed with sending letters to those in contravention of the ZBA, a warning regarding their short-term rental arrangement after receiving full legal counsel.
And proceeding with the future bylaw with all that included in
Oh,
it.
we want to include that too? Yeah, okay, sure. And further that, and further that we move forward with a public process and have staff report back to council regarding a way forward with short-term rental
As
accommodation.
soon as possible. Okay, who will second that motion, please? Tom? We're going to call for the vote and we're going to move on. I got a feeling Doug is going to be a short-term rental here in a minute.
Martina's got a question.
Martina?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I would just like to confirm the resolution or
Okay,
the motion with Councillor Watson. So move that letters be sent to those in contravention of the short-term rental zoning regulations after staff receive legal counsel, and further that the township move forward with a public process to address short-term rentals in the township.
Send
Carl?
that staff report back.
Mr.
but yeah.
Mayor,
Okay.
I don't think we can include short-term in the resolution because short-term rentals are not defined in our zoning bylaw. I think we've got to basically say that the use of these for Airbnb doesn't conform to our shoreline residential zoning bylaw. Would that not be correct, Ilana?
Through Mr. Mayor to the Deputy Mayor, currently we have a listing for cottage rentals, which is in our commercial tourist zone. So we don't have a definition for short-term rentals. So we could take a look at the areas where we are aware that there are rentals, and anything that is in contravention, we could send a letter. There could be other areas where there's contravention other than just on the lake shores, but we could take a look at that and see.
Yeah.
A
that's all part of
residential
it.
zoning.
But we'll
Okay.
make sure if we're sending warning letters that they're in contravention of our zoning bylaw.
Okay, thank you.
You okay with that, Martina?
I am if Councillor Watson is fine with that, and I
Your
believe
motion.
we'll need a seconder.
Heather? Is that what you
Yeah,
implied?
I'm fine with that as long as we're not specifically referencing Airbnb, as I know there are other platforms that people
Yeah.
use for this type of purpose.
Okay, that's fine. I think staff have full understanding of what this is supposed to imply. It's good. It's a good interim measure, and at least we're doing something. And I hope we do a lot more. So I'm going to call for the vote. All in favor? That motion is approved. Did I get a motion to receive the wonderful delegation from Doug Owens? Moved by Tom, seconded by Sheila. All in favor? Doug and everyone else, thank you very much for being with us. I've said it before, I'll say it again. We're all in this together and we're going to solve it together. It's not you and us, and we're all in the one pile, and we want this solved for everyone's sake. Okay. Thank you all very much. Please, the rest of your summer, be safe. We don't want to lose you. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, moving right ahead now. Item 8.4, we have another delegation, and that is our federal NDP candidate, Joy Lachia. I hope I've said that right, Joy, the last name.
Thank you, Your Worship. It's La Chica is the
La
last
Chica,
name.
that's what
La
I said.
Chica,
Joy La
the girl.
Chica.
The girl in Spanish.
I'll remember that now for
Yes,
sure. Okay.
yes.
Okay, you have 10 minutes, and thank you very much. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. Deputy Mayor, councillors, and all the participants in today's meeting. It's been a very rich and full experience for me to listen to what's happening here. And these are all such important issues. And it's wonderful to see your faces and to get to meet you. Again, my name is Joy La Chica, and I am running to be your member of Parliament in Peterborough-Kawartha in this upcoming federal election. Just a little bit of background on me. I came to Canada from the Philippines as an infant, and I grew up in Guelph, Ontario. I've been a public elementary school teacher for over 25 years, and I was elected to the Elementary Teachers of Toronto Local in 2015, and I served as an executive officer, and I was elected as president as well. I served a term as president of the largest teacher local in Canada. I continue to work as an elected leader, and I am currently on the ETFO Provincial Executive. I've been working there for 4 years, fighting for the future of public education. I have a deep connection to families and to community from my career as a teacher. I believe my background and my experience brings fresh eyes to the panorama of our beautiful Peterborough-Kawartha riding. So it's very good to be here with you in the township of Douro-Dummer. I've lived in Peterborough for a year. However, I have been a resident locally and a property owner. And it's so interesting for me to hear this because this is the case on my own lake where these discussions are happening in Highlands East in Halliburton. For almost 20 years, I've been a property owner there. And I just love this region so much and wanted my life to be closer together. I have a partner and a child who's 11 years old. And will be attending the Prince of Wales in September. So that's just a little bit about me. You know, the impact of this pandemic has spared none of us. And I think that if we're listening and watching, we're not finished yet. And our common struggles in this last year and a half have brought us together in unique ways. And in order to emerge stronger, I feel that we need to respond urgently to the things that we're faced with locally, provincially, and federally. And we can't be working in silos. We need governance that works collaboratively, that lifts communities up and leaves no one behind. We are gripped as we've been watching the devastation of Lytton in British Columbia. This is not something we're used to seeing. The fires that continue to ravage whole swaths of not only British Columbia, but here in our central forests in Ontario. And I have friends with a place on Stony Lake, and we live in the beautiful part of Canada. And I think those of us who are nature lovers, and that's the reason we're here, is that we know that so much is at stake right now with the climate emergency. And these images prompts a deep dive to the soul. to feel almost like we're bystanders by seeing this catastrophe before us. How do we channel our indignance? And how can climate action even be a choice? So these are the questions that are very important to me, and that I hope to work together with our communities and in this broad riding of Peterborough-Kawartha. We have to make a choice soon, and we don't have a lot of time to tarry because the earth is not going to wait. And so I believe that what the NDP is bringing forward around a Green New Deal and transitioning to an electric and other energy sources that are not fossil fuels, we are working towards that, and we need to work towards it more urgently together. So, this action must happen in tandem with campaigns. We're hearing that a writ might be dropped in these coming days and within perhaps the next few weeks. And we need to make sure that we have responsive, responsible governments in place that are passionate about making a real change, because we've waited a long time for change to happen. So we can do this together. I wanted you to know who I am. And I've gotten to know some folks in Douro-Dummer, and I'll be canvassing in the area soon. I'm going to be in Apsley tomorrow canvassing because we need to get moving, because there's a lot at stake right now. So I just wanted to say to workers and families who have had a long weekend or taking some important holiday time together for peace, as I'm listening, that's so important in our communities. Peace and rejuvenation is what we need when we rest together. And as we face whatever September holds around the COVID sojourn, we need to just listen and to one another, thanking the incredible volunteers and pharmacy medical workers who have been vaccinating us not once but twice, so that we can be safe as we head into September. And also to our farmers, to thank them, and what goodness that brings us when we're at our local markets. And I appreciate that. And I intend to be in the township and in the communities around the Lakes region and in the towns in Douro-Dummer. So thank you for giving me the time and for these remarks today. It's an important election just around the corner. And you can be certain that if I happen to be elected, lucky enough to be elected as a federal NDP MP, I'll be listening and urgently fighting for you in Douro-Dummer Township. So I thank you, your worship, councillors and deputy mayor. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Joy, and a collective pat on the back for putting your name forward to a very serious situation. It's always quite a challenge running for public office, and you're to be congratulated. And just for the record, we certainly would welcome any federal or provincial candidate who wishes to speak to the township as a whole, should they request a delegation. So Joy, thank you very much. Any questions from members of council before I ask for a motion to receive that delegation? Okay, could I have a motion, please? Carl, and seconded by Heather.
With thanks, Joy, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Joy. We very much appreciate you taking the time to speak.
Thank you. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. And it's very nice to meet all of you as councillors.
Great.
See you again.
All in favor, please, of that motion? That is approved. Thank you. Okay, moving along. What time is it now? 6:17. Does anyone need a 3-minute break or anything, or do you want to keep motoring? Okay. I saw a nod and a shake. Which one's going to be? Nobody wants a break? Okay, let's keep going. Other business staff reports, item 9.3. I was going to move that up, but we've already dealt with that, right? Alana, you're okay with that? And you've got your marching orders. 9.1, legal services. Alana, go ahead.
The recommendation of this report is that CAO 2021-26 report dated August 3rd, 2021 regarding legal services RFP be received, and that council direct staff to enter into a contract to award the legal services to Aird & Burles LLP for 2 years with an option to extend twice by 1 year. Just as indicated in the report, this would align us with the county, with the contract that they've entered into, as well as Township of Selwyn. So in the event that after the 4-year period, we wanted to send out for an RFP, we would all be aligned in the same timeline. They did have the environmental law as well as the labor and employment law carved out. So they had those going to 2 different firms. The recommendation is not to move those at this point. The environmental law, I've specifically dealt with Aird & Burles, and they're very competent in that area. And the labor and employment law, you know, it's something that that we can seek as needed, but I don't expect that that's something that we need to have somebody on record. So at this point, it's just Aird & Burles that we're looking at, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Well respected, that's for sure. Carl, go ahead.
Do we use LLF for this kind of work now?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to the Deputy Mayor, LLF we have used on some cases, and what we currently have happening right now, we will maintain with them. We won't be shifting anything that's existing. There's also some of our tax sales. We've used another firm as well, which we likely would move that to actually a different entity and not even a legal firm that can handle the tax sales at a lower cost for us.
Okay, Carl?
Maybe you can help me with this, but I noticed this law firm is at 181 Bay Street in Toronto, where the rent is probably 3 or 4 times what it is in this local area. Is that of concern? And also the mileage to come down to deal with issues.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, Aird & Burles is definitely a very large firm. I think, you know, if you take the top lawyer in Aird & Burles and the top lawyer at LLF, the fees are probably higher, but there is a staff full of representatives that John has outlined for us. So in some cases, we don't need the lawyer to do the work for us. You know, we will do our best to keep the fees down, but at the same time, the service from Aird & Burles, I think is significant, and I think it's important to have somebody with that background.
Okay, I'm in support.
And of course, our Zoom situation these days too will maybe change that concept somewhat. Carl, you made the motion? I'm sorry.
Yes, I'll move the motion.
And Tom, you'll second it?
I will second that motion, yes.
Okay. Good work, Alana. All in favor? Motion is approved. 9.2, Intercom Drive, an interest, a lot of interest. Go ahead, Alana.
For you, Mr. Mayor, the recommendation is that CAO 2021-27 report dated August 3rd, 2021 regarding Intercom Drive lot interest be received, and that council approve an upset limit of $15,000 to conduct a soil compaction study for lot 3 on Intercom Drive. Specifically, we did have some interest. Lot 3 was the lot of interest. In discussions, the person who was interested had indicated that they were a little concerned with the compaction. They didn't want to move forward unless they could be sure that they could build on it. I said that was fair, and I would take that to council to see how you wanted to proceed with potential sale of lot 3 and doing the legwork to get it ready for sale. Obviously, whatever costs we incur, we would attribute that to the sale price and recoup them at that time.
Okay, very straightforward. What is your wish? You see the recommendation, Heather?
Your worship, I'll move the recommendation that's before us.
Moved by Heather, seconded by Sheila. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor? That motion is approved. 9.4, Alana, again, you need a break here soon. Employee and council compensation review. Go ahead.
The recommendation is that CAO 2021-29 report dated August 3rd, 2021 regarding the employee and council compensation review be received for information. This was approved to go through the process at a previous meeting. We did have 3 submissions. I included the chart there to show you who had submitted. Unfortunately, all of the CAOs actually came in and were on board with the selected proponent, and it came in, I would say, below what most of us thought it would. So we're looking forward to working with the firm to go forward.
Excellent. Questions or motion? Sheila.
Yes, I'll make a motion to follow the recommendation as outlined and receive the report for information.
Second to that motion, please. Tom? All in favor? That motion is approved. Pre-development agreement with Wildfire Golf Course. Martina.
This report that's before you is regarding a pre-development agreement for Wildfire Golf Course. The recommendation is that the report regarding the pre-development agreement between the township and Wildfire Golf Course be received, and that at the appropriate time during the meeting, the bylaw be entered into with the agreement. Wildfire Golf Course is looking to build a new cart storage building. It will be adjacent to the existing clubhouse. They have submitted a variety of studies and engineering letters as outlined in the report. And they will also, as well as needing a zoning bylaw amendment, they will need to amend their site plan to allow for this new commercial structure to be added to the site.
Okay, thank you. Pretty straightforward. Any discussion on that report? Any questions or motions? No motion? Tom?
Yep, I will make a motion. We follow the recommendation and proceed ahead with the next steps.
Seconder, please. Heather? All in favor? That motion is approved. 9.6, Martina again, and this is an OLT appeal. Go ahead and give us the rundown on this, please.
Very good. So this is update number 2 regarding the Clifford zoning bylaw amendment appeal. The recommendation that's before you is that the report be received and that council direct staff and the municipal solicitor to prepare for and attend the hearing for the above noted file and defend our zoning bylaw amendment. In the first, so this is actually the third report. We had the initial report where I let council know that an appeal was taking place, and then an update report, number 1, and then this is number 2. In my previous report, we had discussed that a case management conference would take place prior to the appeal hearing being held. We've heard from OLT, that's the new OMB, so Ontario Land Tribunal, that they will not be holding a case management conference for this hearing. They'd like to go straight to a hearing date for quick decision. So the hearing date will be in early September. Because of that short time frame, I would like council's approval to move forward with working with our solicitor and planning team to get all of our documents prepared and be able to for submission 10 days before that hearing takes place. We will be, if council approves it, of course, we will be speaking to both the County of Peterborough and DM Wills to help support our claim. And of course, the applicant, Mr. Clifford, would be supporting and paying for all these costs.
Okay, another straightforward situation, yay or nay. Questions of Martina on that report? Question, go ahead, Tom.
Yes, thank you very much, through you, Mr. Mayor. Martina, you say you were looking for our support to go ahead and get our lawyers to start drawing everything up on that. I'm assuming there is cost to that, but what happens if Mr. Clifford turns around and says, no, I'm not going to go ahead with it, or do we bear that cost, or how does that happen?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Watt, we will not be moving forward with our solicitor's work unless Mr. Clifford signs off. He's already signed the initial agreement. We are just waiting for his legal counsel to send us the final sign off that he is going to be supporting and carrying all of these costs for us.
All right, perfect. Thank you. Then in that case, I take the motion to support.
Motion from Mr. Watt, seconded by Carl. All in favor? That motion is approved. 9.7. Mike is not with us tonight. Alana, are you going to talk about the infield groomer?
I will, Mr. Mayor.
Good.
The recommendation is that the Recreation Facilities 2021-17 report dated August 3rd, 2021 regarding the purchase of an infield groomer be received and approved. Essentially, Mike has done some legwork to determine that the single infield groomer unit could be actually broken down in multiple parts to give us a little more flexibility for use. He's found the cost to be slightly less than what was budgeted for initially. And with the additional leftover funds, he's requesting that he go ahead and purchase bases as well as a chalk line marker, which he believes are also investments that have to be made. So he's broken down all of the individual components and just bringing it back to council because it was an approved item and it's a change in what was initially approved.
Okay, there is the report. What are your feelings? Heather, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you, I've reviewed the report, and I think the recommendations that Mike is making are sound and will set us up for the future. So I'll support the recommendations.
The seconder to that, Carl.
Yep.
Discussion on the motion. Sheila, did you have your hand up? No. Okay, call for the vote. All in favor? That motion is also approved. Roads need study 9.8. Jake, are you hiding in the? Yeah, you are hiding. We finally see you. Jake, it's all yours about the road needs study.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor, the recommendation before you is that the Public Works Report 2021-21 regarding the roads need study be received for information. Tender packages were distributed to various agencies for the roads to complete the roads need study. We received one submission from DM Wills, and upon review, the proposal was awarded to DM Wills, which came in under budget, under the 2021 budget for the roads need study.
Good, thank you for that, Jake. Carl, go ahead.
I would move the recommendation, and I got a request.
Moving and a request. Seconder, please, to the move and the request. Sheila is the seconder. Go ahead with your request, Carl.
Yes, when the study is completed, I would appreciate a paper copy.
Oh, okay.
As long as it isn't more than like huge numbers of pages, but at least a summary.
Okay. Jake, you're on that?
Yep, thank you.
Okay, I'm going to call for the vote. All in favor? Motion's approved. And Jake, while I got you here, I know you've got a couple of other things that you're trying to get through here, but in case I forget, I just again want to thank you and all the Public Works guys for all the work they've done through this COVID. They've been on the front lines, rain and shine, obeying all the rules, getting the job done. And I just want you to know we appreciate it. I did have the opportunity to take a bit of a lunch up to them along with Alana a little while ago. But again, I just want to express publicly our appreciation for all the work that you guys are doing. And you in particular, you're doing a great job, and we appreciate it. So how's that for getting on your good side, Jake?
I appreciate it, and I thank you, and I will pass it on along to all the staff.
Please do. Next item is the purchase of a pickup truck, 9.9. Go ahead, Jake.
Thank you. The recommendation before you is that the Public Works 2021-22 report regarding the purchase of a pickup truck be received for information. We received 4 tender submissions for this pickup truck. Due to COVID, the supply and demand issue is quite relevant, and during thorough review, Scott Drummond Motors met all the specifications required, as well as had the best delivery date option available. So the proposal was awarded to Scott Drummond Motors as well. This came under the 2021 budget amount as well.
Okay, thank you for that. Jake looked into very thoroughly, as we always do with the purchase of vehicles, all above board. Someone move the motion. Tom, you got your hand up. Go ahead.
I do. I would move the motion to receive it with thanks. And I keep loving to hear this, Jake, this under budget. Yeah, I love hearing that words. So thank you very much for your diligent work.
You're moving to receive it. Are you moving to approve it, the recommendation? Yes? Okay. Seconder to
Yes.
that, please. Heather? All in favor? That motion is approved. Purchase of a snowplow truck now. Boy, Jake, you've been a busy boy here. Go ahead.
Thank you. The recommendation before you is that the Public Works Report 2021-25 regarding the purchase of a snowplow truck for the Public Works Department be received and the council award the tender to Winslow Douro-Dummer Motors. There's no financial impact to this associated with this, as it's contained within the 2021 budget. We received one submission, and that was from Winslow Douro-Dummer Motors. We did distribute it to multiple agencies, but the last couple of years we've just received one submission.
Is this a situation with COVID as well, do you think? Hard to get a hold of these things?
I believe that's part of it, and as well as maybe some of these are quite extreme outfitters that for all the plow equipment and such.
Yeah.
So I don't know whether maybe one manufacturer is kind of taking over the that municipal part of the truck industry. I'm not sure.
Yeah, different world out there. We're all trying to deal with. A motion, please. Go ahead, Sheila.
I'd make a motion to follow the recommendation and award the tender to Winslow Douro-Dummer.
A seconder, please. Carl, all in favor? That motion's approved. And surprise, surprise, we got Jake now with 911, purchase of a motor grader. Go ahead.
Thank you, and this will be the last one.
We're hoping so.
The recommendation before you is that the Public Works Report 2021-26 regarding the purchase of a motor grader be received and the council award the tender to Brandt Tractor. Again, we distributed this to the two big manufacturers for motor graders, which is Caterpillar and John Deere. We received 2 packages back, with Brandt Tractor being the lowest and meeting all the specifications, as well as we will be trading in our old grader on this purchase. Again, this purchase was budgeted for in the 2021 budget.
Lots of work for it, that's for sure. Okay, questions, motion? Carl?
I'll move the recommendation.
Seconder. Heather, all in favor? Motion is approved. Jake, I think maybe you need to take the rest of the night off now. You're going to be swamped. Alana, go ahead. You've got a smile on your face.
For you, Mr. Mayor. Jake, if you could just hang around a little bit longer, we may have an action item that we might need your input on.
Will do.
Okay, thank you. Moving ahead to item 10, committee minutes, other reports. 10.1 is a quick update on county council matters. We've been off for the month of July as well. Carl, do you have anything at all to report?
I've got a couple things to report. As everyone probably knows, Fairhaven Home for the Aged is owned by the city of Peterborough and the county of Peterborough. And the county acknowledged staff's contribution during the COVID-19 pandemic. There's over 300 staff at Fairhaven. And last week we had handouts of some sweets that was well received by staff. And to acknowledge that they had to alter their personal habits to keep safe, because they're going in every day to provide services to over 200 residents. And as you well know, the outbreaks were quite limited at Fairhaven during this all. So as owners, we wanted to contribute. It was well received. The next point I want to make, the decision we made back in 2018, accessory dwellings in Douro-Dummer, been able to have those accessory dwellings without going through official zoning has been well recognized in other municipalities. In fact, city of Peterborough don't even have this type of without rezoning. And it's been noted by one of the committees I've been on, the Age Friendly, And because seniors sometimes are looking for, because of the high cost of housing, are looking for this kind of support where they can have independent living, maybe in the same dwelling or in a small building on the same property as a son or daughter. And it saves big time, especially for those people who can't afford their own housing. They want to have independence, but they just want to keep it separate from, they don't want to live in the same house as their son or daughter. And the third thing is in the county agenda tomorrow, you'll see a summary from Brian Weir. Martina, you'll be familiar with this. This is kind of an update on the official plan progress in the county that should be well worth reading. So I would encourage you to go on the website. It's about 9 or 10 pages, but it shows a good progress, and maybe it would be a thought for Martina to route copies out to individuals, might make it easier. And the last item, I think I'll get you to fill that in, is regarding the EORN, Jay. There's been some updates there regarding EORN over the last while.
I'll be very quick. The province and the federal government announced their plan to spread high-speed internet across Ontario. Our involvement with EORN, certainly, I'd be lying if I said we weren't disappointed that they did not accept the EORN plan, which was to get 1 gig of internet speed to everyone in Eastern Ontario. However, they decided to take their own route. They have dedicated a good chunk of money, and we certainly are happy about that. And all we really care about is making sure everyone gets high-speed internet. And I sure hope the way they are going about it works. So we're behind them all the way, and we're there to help them whenever we can. Okay, thank you for that, Carl. Martina, I believe you had your hand in the air. Go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Mayor.
Correct, Carl?
Yeah.
No?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Deputy Mayor Carl Moher. Yes, you're correct. That report is on the agenda. We did review it at our recent TAC meeting. So all of the participating municipalities did have a bit of a say in it, and it will be on the next council agenda for council's discussion.
Great. Good. Okay, thank you for that. Carl, could I have a motion, please, to receive that report? Sheila and Tom, all in favor? That motion is approved. Well done. Item 10.2 is department reports. I'm going to ask for one motion. They're all in your package. Extremely beneficial to all of us. Every department of the township is giving us an update on what they're doing or what they're not doing. And it's wonderful to get that every week. So I'll take one motion to receive with thanks those motions, or those reports rather. Heather, are you making that motion?
Yes, Your Worship, I will, with thanks.
Thank you. And a seconder, please, from Sheila. All yes, Carl?
I got a couple comments, a couple questions, if that's okay.
Okay, the motion's on the floor. Go ahead.
Yes, I just wondered if there's been any progress on the drainage issues on Television Road and Coral Drive. Is there slight progress in modifying or managing that beaver dam?
Alana.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we are still doing some investigative work. We did have that meeting previously with the county as well as representatives from Orca. It wasn't, I haven't gathered all the information as of yet, so I'm continuing to follow up and do that. And our public work staff have been out there to monitor it as well. So we'll have something coming back likely in September with a report back on how we're making out.
Thank you. And a couple comments. In Martina's report, the cleanup of the batches of the files that you've been working on, Martina, for quite some time. That must be really encouraging to get that near done. So thanks very much. That's been on the books for quite some time. And also Martina and Alana organized a roundtable for community of adjustment and planning. And the mayor and myself and Martina and Alana sat in. It was very well received by the committee. So thanks very much. And just wondering on the fire department calls, they've a number of calls. Are the calls up or down or versus previous years? I guess I don't need an answer right now because Chuck would know that. But it would be interesting to know whether we're trending in the upwards or downwards, or I think he's mentioned the calls. And the last item I wanted to mention is as the treasurer's report, the library charitable status consideration. Good luck. Having gone through that with the medical center in Lakefield a number of years ago, they'll probably find the federal government do not want to hand out charitable status to organizations anymore. And it also could hamper the library's special status because they have special status as an organization that is even separate from the municipality. That might be a problem. Now, if we can already give donation receipts under section 118.1 of the Income Tax Act of individuals wanting to donate to the library, as long as the municipality, I think we did the same thing for the fire hall back up at Hall's Glen. So that might be, I could probably help point you in the right direction, Paul. At some point, give me a call, and there's a legal company in Ottawa that specializes in this kind of work, but it'll be a struggle if that's the direction they want to go. That was all.
Thank you, Carl. The motion is on the floor. All in favor? Motion is approved. Planning committee, some committee minutes we have to deal with. Canada Day Parade Committee minutes of May 13th and June 10th. Just a motion to receive those minutes. Heather and Sheila, all in favor? Approved. Planning Committee minutes from June 11th and June 25th are before you. Tom and Carl, all in favor? That is approved. And reports and capital project status. That report is also there for your information. You have a question, Carl?
No, I just wanted to move to receive it, and thanks very much. That report is excellent.
Moved by Carl, seconded by Sheila. All in favor? Motion is approved. We move into bylaws now, and I am going to ask Martina to review the 1, 2, 3, 4 bylaws that we're dealing with, and then I'll have a motion to approve the bylaws. Go ahead, Martina.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the first bylaw, 2146, has already been dealt with. And then further to that, bylaw 2147 was the short-term rental bylaw, and that's already been addressed. The bylaw 2148 was regarding user fees in regards to the short-term rental bylaw, so we won't need to address that, which leaves us 2 bylaws to address. The first is bylaw 2149, which is to authorize the pre-development agreement for the Wildfire Golf Course project. And the second one is 2150, which is to authorize and execute an agreement with the Minister of Infrastructure for ICIP funding. And that's the $100,000 for the joint fire hall public works building at the Douro yard.
Okay. Very clear as mud. That's good. Could I have a motion, please, to approve the bylaws? Tom and Sheila, all in favor? Motion is approved. We move ahead to correspondence action items. We have, we sure have a number of them. Whether how many relate to Douro-Dummer is going to be up to you, I guess. We go with the Township of Georgian Bay about the Environmental Protection Amendment Act. What is your flavor? Carl?
Move to receive.
Receive. Seconder? Sheila, all in favor? That is approved. The Township of Selwyn, a resolution for an exemption of the annual emergency management exercise. Seemed to make a lot of sense to me, but Sheila, go ahead.
Receive and support.
Receive and support. Seconder? Heather, all in favor? Approved. Township of Huron-Kinloss and Perth County about supporting domestic production of a COVID-19 vaccine. Carl?
I would move to receive that because there's already a plan for Montreal that should be completed next year. I believe, for future production of COVIDs or vaccinations in Canada.
Okay. Receive 12.3. Seconder? Tom? All in favor? Motion is approved. Town of Kingsville to amend certain acts and to make certain consequential amendments to Bill C-21. Heather?
Your worship, I'll move to receive and support this regardless of where someone sits on the firearm legislation, having it be the responsibility of municipalities to set individual bylaws around what firearms are allowed in it would be administratively impossible for us, I think, to handle. So I move to receive and support.
Receive and support from Heather. Seconder, please. Tom? All in favor? That motion's approved. City of Woodstock requesting government find suitable long-term solutions to address the affordable housing, homelessness, and addiction crisis. Don't we all want that? Carl?
I move to receive and support.
Seconder? Sheila, I see your hand up?
Yes, okay.
All in favor? That motion is approved. City of Kitchener about the increase in the price of building materials. Who wouldn't want to support that? Go ahead. Sheila?
Move and support, move, receive and support.
Seconder? Carl?
Just a comment on this. I'm wondering if this is should be just received because the building costs of material is coming down by substantial amounts.
Okay, Sheila, you're still standing by your motion? That's fine.
No, if it is coming down, that's a good thing. I haven't purchased any wood, so I haven't seen that. But I'm content to amend it to receive it.
Okay, motion to receive. Carl, you'll second that. All in favor? Motion approved. From our Conservation Authority, recommendations regarding regulatory proposals under the Conservation Authorities Act. You have the letter before you. Carl?
I would move to receive and support, and I'll talk to that if somebody seconds it.
Will anyone second that? Tom will second it. Go ahead, Carl.
There's been a lot of study at the local Conservation Authority and also Ontario Conservation regarding this moving forward. So I would strongly support that we support it.
Okay, that is on the books to support. All in favor? Motion approved. A House of Commons MP Peter Julian from the City of Kitchener. A letter seeking endorsement for a motion of M84 anti-hate crimes and incidents and a private member's bill banning symbols of hate act. What is your preference? Anybody? Sheila?
I'll move to receive it.
Receive. Seconder? Tom?
Second.
All in favor? Motion approved. Municipality of Chatham, Canada about cannabis, the funding for maintenance, preservation, repair of abandoned cemeteries, and the big city mayor's call for action on ambitious mental health addiction plan. That's quite a mouthful in one resolution from the municipality of Chatham, Kent. Go ahead, Heather.
Your worship, I will move to receive and support all three of the resolutions.
Receive and support. Well done. Seconder. Carl. All in favor? That motion is approved. City of Mississauga, a resolution supporting Indigenous heritage and peoples by committing to a path towards reconciliation. A motion, please. Oh, Tom?
Receive and support, please.
And a seconder, please.
Yeah, okay.
Your worship, just speak to it
Yes.
for a second. I'll move to
Oh, my
receive and support it, although I wonder if it is, everything's okay.
It's been
I wonder
moved
if,
already by Tom. Yep.
right, no, so I might say I will second that, but I just wonder if, like, I know that yourself, your worship, has gone through the, forgive me, I can't remember the ceremony that you had and the acknowledgement, and that we're already doing this within the county and within our own municipality, but I support it in principle, so I'll second the motion.
Can't do it enough.
Necessary.
Can't do it enough. Heather is the seconder. All in favor? Motion is approved. City of Mississauga, we got that. Solicitor General 1211, support to emergency services to provide extrication of animals in distress from motor vehicles. Interesting. It's a real issue. Go ahead, Sheila.
Receive and support it wholeheartedly.
And support, good for you. Seconder. Tom. All in favor? All in favor, okay. Motion is approved. We have a letter from Ms. Tuckerman about the Indian River and the boat launch. Carl?
I would move to receive and refer to staff to use the information for information that we're coming back to council in the near future.
Okay, seconder to that motion? Heather? All in favor? That motion is approved. Ratepayers letters about green waste bin. I'm going to turn this over to Alana. We had a very serious concern made us aware of it. And Alana, I'd like to hear your thoughts on that, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to council. We happen to just have two calls relatively in short term together. So we had asked them to send something into council. Now, there was a report that was brought forward to council prior to me being here with options on how to deal with this green waste. And the agreement at that time was to put a bin at the Public Works Depot in the spring and the fall and allow people to bring their green waste at that time. This year, it seems there's been some additional waste. I don't know if it's the storms and the wind and people are cleaning up their properties, but we had two incidents where they went to deliver their green waste and the bins had been removed. We did keep them there longer this year than what they've been kept in the past, but based on the recommendation of council at the time, there was a fee that the county was going to contribute and we were trying to stay within that. So you have the requests here, and I think one of them specifically asks for the bin to remain there for the duration, so right from April to October, even going as far as to ask for it to be brought back for the duration of the season. So I think at this stage, when council is reviewing this, it's two-part. One, do you want to consider bringing it back at this time, or are we going to look at something moving forward for 2022, or are you happy with the recommendation as it stands? I believe the report was done in 2018. Jake may be able to add some additional information to that.
Okay, there's the facts. I mean, I've got to say, I would have been annoyed too had I wanted to take my green waste up there and find out the bin was gone, because I don't think there was any specific date mentioned. It seems to me that's the least we can do, and find a way to eliminate the abuse that goes on with people throwing their garbage in it. That's the problem. Sheila, then Carl, go ahead.
Thank you. Just a general comment about the bin. A lot of people in this area use it, and I get phone calls. When's it gone? Why is it gone? When's it coming back? Regularly.
I say get her there. Carl?
I guess my question is, why would we not put it at the Halls Glen where there's supervision and eliminate this people dumping garbage in the green bin? That's where there's somebody is. It's only open certain limited times. It's centrally located. We all know where it is. And it just—
Long way to come for somebody in Donwood, though. That's what I think, I guess.
Well,
if I can speak.
I don't people cleaning up garbage on Monday morning either.
Go ahead, Jake.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. It was, from my understanding, the bin was to be there It was never intended to be there year round. It was in the spring and the fall during the collection, the county collection that they provide in Donwood and other various areas throughout the Peterborough County. So in saying that, as Alana has said, the county does allot a certain amount of funds for this. The rest of it being funded through the township. Now, we have went over way beyond in years past and covered this cost. However, as Deputy Mayor Moher said, there's no way to regulate it. It's wide open. We've come into some issues with excessive dumping this year, whether it's due to COVID or what the case is. It needs to be regulated or monitored at a site where we can do that.
Okay, no, that's the view. We need to make a decision then, one way or the other. What are we going to do? Tom?
Yes, thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. It is a tricky situation because I know, and Jake, I came by there one day, and I know you've closed the gates on the weekends because there was no monitoring it at all. But even still, like people coming in on the weekdays after 5 o'clock and taking like a complete truckload and trailer load, you know, I mean, that's a little excessive for just a little bit of a green waste thing. So like there's a fine line in there, but if it went to, you know, somewhere that was monitored or the Halls Glen transfer station would be one of them, I guess, or maybe we have 2 locations, I don't know, and have one open all the time, one only open during hours when people are there. It's possibly a solution because yeah, it does get abused. That's the trouble. Everything people, you know, they take it. It's a problem that we can't alleviate, and I'm not blaming everybody. There's that 1 or 2 bad eggs
That's what it is. Yeah,
spoil it for everyone.
And maybe Halls Glen is the happy medium here that solves the problem. Carl?
Just one further comment. I believe that Donwood is part of the county program for picking up green.
Yeah, it probably is. Yeah.
And smaller things. Now, they wouldn't be capable to take large branches or that kind of thing, but that's a thing that the build-up areas look forward to, and it's picked up right at their door. And
yeah, true. Okay, well, which way do you want to go? Do you want to status quo it? Do you want to go to Halls Glen? Heather, go ahead.
Just a question through you to Jake. Do we have space at the transfer station to accommodate for this that would perhaps make it such that people dropping off their green waste wouldn't have to drive over the scales? Or like, can we do it in that lower portion of the transfer station? Can we even accommodate that? I think it's a great idea, but can we do it?
Yep, there is space there. And as I said before, it was taken there prior. I believe the only reason it was removed was because at the time M&M was actually taking the waste. They had a place and a contractor that was paying them for it. So it was removed free of charge, I believe. They would have to go over the scale because it is something that is being brought into the site. So whether there is a fee associated to it at some point, whether that's offered free during the collection times that everybody else, that Donwood area and such have it, I don't know, but it will cost us to remove it from the site.
Well, let's move it to staff to come up with a fair solution to this and get back to us. I think you've heard what we're saying. I don't think it's too much to ask for a taxpayer to be able to get rid of his tree branches. My goodness.
Yeah.
Carl?
I would move that we refer to staff to bring something back that considers all the issues raised in the emails received and so on.
Seconder? Heather? All in favor? That motion is approved. Okay, information items number 13.1 to 13.3. They're all in everyone's package and in the public. A motion, please, to receive those information items. Sheila, Tom, all in favor? That motion is approved. We have no accounts, no notices of motion that have been delivered, no closed session. Any announcements of community interest from anyone? Carl.
Just one item. We've all been invited to the Birchcliff Property Owners Association on Wednesday, or pardon me, on Saturday. I assume, Jay, you will be our spokesperson?
Yeah, I'll give a review of what's been happening. Alana, maybe you can comment on that.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to the Deputy Mayor, we did actually have a meeting, myself and Jake, with some of the representatives there. So I know that they're anxious to have council attend. I did say with more than 3, we have a quorum. So if we do have everybody interested in attending, we'll just be cautious that we don't get into advancing business or being perceived as it being advancing business and a meeting situation. So I'm going to attend as well. And if I feel it's going that way, I may just say, we have to make sure we're taking the information, but not providing any advice on behalf of council and how we're going to move forward.
Good. Well said. Thank you, Alana. Okay, we have no closed session and a motion for the confirming bylaw, please. Sheila, Heather, all in favor? That motion's approved. And a motion, please, to adjourn.
Oh, yeah, me.
Sorry, Sheila, did you say something?
No, just yes, adjourn.
Oh, okay. Sheila
Yes.
and Carl, all in favor? That is it for the meeting. We thank everyone. If you've been watching on YouTube or the recording on YouTube, we thank you for being with us, and we'll be back in 2 weeks' time here with the Township of Douro-Dummer.
No.